All right. So go ahead and call to order the finance meeting for Tuesday, November 16th. We are all present plus Cheryl and Chip plus staff. Good to go. Action on minutes of October 19th and November 1st. I think everybody was here for the 19th, but
I
Cheryl,
wasn't
you were
here
here for the,
last week.
so that's
That was the
November
8th.
8th.
Yeah.
So was everybody here on the 1st?
Yes,
Okay. Were there any changes? I didn't see any.
yeah, I did see, I read through them.
I'll move to approve in block.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye, Cheryl?
that
You
was
say
the
aye.
aye.
Hey, sorry. All right. Good deal. Director reports to council. Dana, anything you want to call out specifically?
What was my last note? Pardon. No, nothing in particular. I don't have the bank to book reconciliation done. I am working on it. It's almost done, so I'll send that out to you all whenever I have it.
We were all fighting over the printer this afternoon.
I won the raffle, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the
Thank you.
night. Yeah. So no call out specifically?
Chief,
Okay.
did you want the packet, I tried not to duplicate printing. Do you want the council packet that has the finance director reports in it? I've got them in now.
No, I got it
Got 'em.
digitally pulled up.
Okay. Maybe you were looking for something.
Cheryl, Chip, any comments on the director reports, the bank to book, or anything that Dana had written up?
No, it looks good, still in the positive direction.
83% through the year, 96% to budget. I say
Mhm.
I call it a win thus far. Feels good. Nothing seemed out of line. I think the last note that you had on there was about the appropriation we have on there for enterprise, right? The ordinance that's on there
right,
for the
right.
overspend.
Right, yes,
And that's just paying Rita back for their, because we've collected more, so their fee is higher.
exactly. It's a
Okay.
percentage, so yeah,
So
it'll go
that's the
up.
type of zero net change that we like to see.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because we know we're getting more revenue than what we're projecting.
Correct.
Cool. All right. Asset value quotes discussion or decision. Do you have any updates on that?
Yes, I spoke with the president of HCA and I asked him to give me a rundown of why we should go with him, because frankly, they were twice the cost of the other. And I just flat out said that. And he said, well, sure, I can give you some reasons. He said they do a complete inventory, cost of the asset with the infrastructure. They break down into all the different classes. They have a great history in Ohio. Basically, the accounting classes was what he was focusing on as we get really into the details and make sure that it is all of your assets are classified in the correct accounting class. So I don't know if that necessarily warrants double the cost for the
Now,
work.
when you say that, I mean, they send out a staff, we'll take them through, show them each piece of equipment,
Mhm.
and then they will classify each piece of equipment.
Mhm. Yep.
They won't send me a flyer saying, please fill this out.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it makes a big difference if they're
Yeah.
actually going to come in and have the manpower
Yes.
to do those things, or if they're going to send me something, please list your equipment.
And I asked him, I didn't write it down, but I did ask him how long they would be on site. Oh, I did write it down. A couple of weeks. He said it would be
Okay.
2 to 3 people for a couple of weeks.
So it
Sounds
must be-
hands-on.
So yeah, they're coming in, looking at each item then.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know. I like them. And the fact that they are very comprehensive and detailed. I think that would be good, especially for our first asset valuation. So I would recommend them.
For me, I
Yeah.
am still hung up on the lackadaisical endorsement
Yeah.
for the other company.
And
That to
I-
me is more of a
Red flag.
a red flag than anything. And I feel that being new to this process, the more detailed and the more comprehensive we can be, the more hands-on we can be, even if it costs another couple bucks to set up this template about what we're doing moving forward is going to be worth it in the long run.
I feel comfortable with that
And I
too.
think that's what we talked about before, but it's kind of there. So
Okay, very good.
I'll make a motion to move forward with HCA then.
Yep. Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I said aye this time.
you did. All right, so 3-0 to move forward with that. And we kind of had that baked into the budget already, correct?
You did.
All right, so no real change there. It's just we've assigned who we're going with. Anything else on that asset value quotes or anything like that? Okay. And then really with that, we've already got the gap piece set up. So we're in good shape in that respect. So with respect to the budget, I know I sent out an email on kind of capturing everything that we talked through in the last meeting. And we do have some decisions that we need to make tonight and a couple of things we need to bring up to the balance of council. But probably be good to have a decision within finance to help kind of guide those from us. But Dana, just off the top, just to kind of ground us on the baseline that we're looking at with the projected available funds. You got any kind of update on where we're at and how?
For revenue, for income tax revenue, I'm estimating us to come in at 307,000 more than we budgeted. And we already already added into the budget 280,000. So I think we're in good shape there. I wouldn't necessarily want to add anything in. It's minimal at this point anyway. Aside from that, the 200,000 for the land reimbursement, that was put into in the CIP fund for next year. And therefore, I don't have it up on the screen. Oh, Jim has it up on the screen. Thank you. Is that the most current? Yeah, I think it
It's
is.
in the packet.
Perfect, yeah. So that took us from anticipated revenues on line 4901 to 635.5. Yep, that's including the 200,000 reimbursement or refund from the land. So that shows a ending balance of 67,500 at 2022, and that's with all the CIP that we had discussed already. Priority 1 for ceiling. But it actually leaves enough money to do priority 2 if we wanted to add that in.
Is CIP sitting next to 67?
Mhm.
Okay,
Also, we had baked into the 2021 budget $34,000 expense for the dog park fence. And we're getting reimbursed 17,000 of that. We went over by 2,000, so really it's a net of 15,000 additional that we'll be getting. We can add that into this as well.
yes, please. And that should be under general fund, right? Or that be under CIP?
It's going to be CIP.
Okay. So then as we're continuing to chip away, my suggestion would be to add in priority 2 with the streets into CIP, just to give us that baseline at Jack's request, which would be another 46 coming out of CIP.
I'm agreeable.
So that puts us at priority 1 and 2 for that. And then I think some of the bigger conversations are around staffing and SSI. So I will kind of baseline and just kind of give I'll tell you where I'm at after
Okay.
giving it several weeks of thought with everything.
Before you go on, did you want to include priority 2 and 3 or just priority 2?
Just 2.
Thank you.
So I feel like we need to do SSI. It's been the SSI upgrade
Oh, okay.
for the accounting software and things like that.
I'm sorry.
No, Dana, you said you talked to them and they can pull out that $10,000 asset management piece for a year, but we can add it back on maybe in 2023. Right? And we
Yes.
can pull that out and we can add it back on, which makes sense. It's just going to drop the price a little bit. But I feel like that's a necessity in terms of infrastructure. We updated with CAD, last year for the police department. We've done a lot of other systems and server upgrades, and we've talked for a long time about the SSI piece for the accounting. And so I think 15 years, probably good to update
What
that.
price are we at now? Since I
Yeah.
missed the last meeting.
We are
About the time, and I don't have an answer yet.
What number?
135,000. would be the one-time payment.
And it's coming out of general fund or?
General fund, water and sewer, so it'd be
Oh,
split three
split
ways.
3 ways. Okay.
Mhm.
You said 135?
135, that's,
Okay.
that's
That's
the,
better than 175.
Right.
When you took the thought 10,000.
Yeah.
And that's with the few pennies a day plan.
few pennies a day. You still have an outstanding question about the cloud piece, right?
I do, yeah, I asked him, I haven't heard back yet.
So to Chief's call out, if we're able to host it here locally instead of doing the cloud, that'll save us some extra money on
It's
the
about 10,000 a year.
annual fee piece of it, yes. So that's an outstanding question, but I feel like we should move forward with SSI. And that's something that, because of the expense, we should bring it up to council and get feedback as well. But from my logic, I think in bringing on the SSI, it's going to help make us more efficient, especially on the finance side of things, and save you some time from what it sounds like, right?
Absolutely.
It sounds like it's a system that can be trained upon and cross-trained with other individuals when and if you are out on vacation or what have you.
Mhm.
And I think, in my opinion, that should be a priority within the administrative side, is have backups for that piece, especially given what looks to be that, the ease of use relative to how you currently operate.
Yes.
To that end, I feel from a staffing perspective, keeping Megan on the police department side makes sense to me. I think that works. I can't see personally, and I don't know, administrators, if you guys have a different opinion, I can't see where Stephanie would fit in on the administrative side, especially for bringing some efficiencies to this system and making it easier and cross-training in other areas. I don't know. I can't see it. If anybody else does, let me know. And we can talk about it, but that's my perspective. Similarly with planning and zoning and the staffing there and giving it some thought. The comments I've heard too are about the workload on the planning and zoning side of it. And Bailey, you correct me. It feels like if we made the part-time position full-time, that may alleviate some of the issues and just clearly identify 30 hours a week in this space and 10 hours a week in this space. And the 10 hours a week is code enforcement, the 40 hours a week is packet review or what have you, but we clearly identify those. I don't know if we it doesn't feel like we need a complete other full-time equivalent individual in that space. So that's where I'm at. Having the information that I have right now, not being in the office every single day, but just based off the conversations that we've had.
Okay.
So I don't know where anybody else stands.
Well, and we always know you're wordy, but I could say about 30 words.
Yeah, that's fair. I wanted to give the logic behind it, so it just wasn't arbitrary.
I'm basically on the same page as you. Go with the SSI. Megan makes sense. I need to hear from you guys on why we need another person in the office, because right now I don't see the need. And I understand she could find a job as a dispatcher. So that's where I'm at right now, so.
I feel like I walked in on a story that I'm missing a few chapters. So I'm assuming that Laura is staying
No.
And full-time.
and full-time.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to
Last
explain.
I knew, that wasn't the case, so I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Happy to hear that. So the idea is Megan will stay with you, chief, and then she'll split her time with the court, right?
If that's what the consensus is, and yeah,
Okay.
we can make it happen.
For now, anyway.
I've thought about that too, because I don't disagree with how we've talked about aligning mayor's court under
Yeah,
the admin side. In my mind, I'm equivocating it to when we said, okay, we need to make sure that we have our salaries aligned in the proper buckets for the utility folks. And it took several years to get there. And we didn't do it all at once. we understood kind of what the need was, where the people needed to be and what the responsibilities were, and then we kind of shifted that way. And for me, I think that's maybe the next step is maybe looking at maybe mid-year next year, how best to cross-train those individuals. Because I think you even brought up, depending on how efficient things are, if that is something that would be housed within the admin side with somebody who's currently employed on the admin side. But that's why I'm thinking of it as a process and not just all at once, personally.
Okay.
Chief, on a big picture level, how many hours are spent in mayor's court and then dealing with mayor's court? 8 hours a week? Less than?
I don't know. So, because I don't know how much time she actually dedicates per day actually processing payments.
What's an average court night? 3-4 hours,
Oh, I'd say probably about 3 hours.
twice a month?
Yes.
I'm just trying to think on how that would be, Dana's seeing efficiencies. Is there something with Laura or
Yeah.
something like that? So
So like that would
I'm also a lame duck, so I probably should be quiet.
pretty much have overtime.
Right, we want your input.
Would the mayor's court person who attends the mayor's court, actual court, would it have to be the same person every time? Ideally, yes, I know, but is that a deal breaker?
No.
Okay. I'm just
Oh.
wondering if we could split up who goes to the mayor's court.
That's cool.
And as far as collecting money, Laura could still collect the money so that we can have that separation.
Yeah. that could
All
be a
fines be
possibility.
paid, just as your water bill.
Yeah, because actually Megan, whatever she does with them, then she brings them to Laura.
Yeah. So we could have that separate functionality.
So like the big thing is like the mayor's court machine, where does that get housed?
Machine.
Yeah.
Computer, because we just pay for a license. So like that's licensed on that terminal.
Okay.
And then what do we do with the terminal?
Can it be moved over to Laura's
We
office?
sure can, but does she have 2 workstations at that point?
Big office.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got the biggest.
I mean,
office
well,
besides Jim.
I mean, basically, there would just be like another monitor on the desk. The workstation itself would be underneath the desk.
I think those would be, with Laura coming on 8 hours and efficiencies with Dana, I think it's a possibility to, like you said, maybe somewhere next year, transition that away from the PD.
And I okay with it. But I would respectfully like everybody to revisit the idea of more officers. So basically, there's 5 employees now that are kind of gone. We're going to keep 1, so that means we're not paying for 4. So I would like you guys to consider a revisit of hiring that additional officer in Q4.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we've said, we're committed to reviewing it after Q1 next year and see where we are revenue wise. I don't think that's a problem.
Mm-mm.
Back to the mayor's court, I'm just, so are you thinking Megan would still do, she'd be like part-time, she'd be full-time, but she'd still do mayor's court? Or?
Well, logistically, we're gonna figure it out. I mean, I don't know if that's more of an administrative function. So we're like, we can make it happen. It's just administratively, how do we?
That's what I was trying to think of. If Laura, I don't know what all she does on the terminal that you're talking about. That's why I'm like, it wouldn't make
Process
sense.
payments. Well, so I think
Is it only for processing payments or does she do like court dates? I mean, obviously Laura's not doing.
court date's already set. So they're set for 22. So those are already done.
Right.
I think you mean like.
I mean, like
the
maybe
Specific
send-
cases.
Do we send subpoenas? Do we do any, does the mayor's court clerk do all that?
Yes, there's other.
Yeah,
So there's
certified
other
for-
things besides.
Yeah, certified mail
That
and all that
someone
stuff.
else, whoever's taking care of mayor's court would do with that terminal.
I think that splitting the job up between 2 people would be a bad idea because there'd be a lot of
Yeah.
confusion in there.
That's what I was thinking. But it might not be a great idea to
Right,
have
so
Laura's
basically just-
fingers in any of it. if-
Correct. And there's probably, I know that she also attends some certifications and there's some
Right.
laws and stuff. And
Have Laura's just backup or something.
Well,
like that.
well, yeah, because the situation is Laura, we brought her on full time, as my understanding is because we have so many more accounts and she
Right.
would
I don't
be
want
busy
her
with the
to-
water. I don't know that we should walk into Laura and go,
No.
No.
this
I
is
agree.
yours on top of your job,
Agreed.
because it hasn't been discussed with her. Here again, Megan's been doing this all along. And I understand there's be some separation there, but I would say Megan continues to do that job and then fills the other needs that the chief needs. I don't know that we should walk in and say, here, Laura, this is yours.
No, that was my
I
point.
agree.
I think next year, we take this and this is what it is for now. We keep the responsibilities housed where they are. Similarly to revisiting the conversation about additional officer balance of next year. is, and as we talked about, entertaining this dual band insurance piece that we discussed last time. I don't think you were here, Cheryl. That is a topic that we bring up at the beginning of next year. That, okay, this is where we want to be. How do we get there with respect to delineation of responsibilities and who's going to be able to take it over on the admin side? But I think that's a phase 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, because chief's gonna be able to vet out his processes now that they're,
Because
that
there's a lot of
change is made.
changes happening at once. We've got
Right.
dispatch, we've got another officer coming. It feels like a lot to move all at once.
Right.
So just want to make sure that we're systematic about it. That's all.
So the conversation about dispatch, though, I mean, is that something that we're ready to have in council? You know, it's like ultimately there, I guess, needs to be a decision, because I'm not sure if that decision is there, it's gonna happen.
Formalized
Formal,
decision.
correct?
Yeah, we'll bring it
Yeah,
up tonight.
Does the county require anything from us? Like a resolution or anything?
Well, we were waiting on some,
Pricing.
Pricing, still waiting on pricing.
we're still waiting.
Yeah, I
Okay,
followed up
so
on it today.
I don't
so-
want to make a final decision until we see the price.
I think we can give a vote of intent. This is where we intend to be.
Assuming that those numbers are not some craziness.
Or you can just, again, back chief's due diligence phase and,
Yeah.
just continue to back him investigating the idea.
mhm.
And then
I'd be
he
fine.
could go to the
I
commissioners and
would be
say,
fine,
I have the
I'd
back.
be fine with that, but I still want to see the numbers.
Oh, sure.
Piece of paper with numbers written on it. If they say this is our number,
Yes, ma'am.
because, their history is not exactly
Correct.
the best.
I think the budget that we're working on is under the assumption that we are moving that way.
Yes. Yes,
So
That's
just
what I'm
wanted to-
assuming.
And,
I think that's the future, so.
Correct.
now, I don't know whether anybody responded to whatever his name was, who wrote
That letter to
the
all of us,
letter to all
Ben
of us.
did.
Ben
Did
did.
you respond?
I sent an email back because we brought it up at the meeting, last meeting, 2 meetings ago, and I just responded back with a link to YouTube. I said, check out the YouTube page. And here's where we started discussing it about what we talked about in finance and.
And then he sent a letter to Jack then afterwards. Did you notice that?
No,
Yeah,
no.
Well, I think it said the same thing, it was just.
it's the
forwarded.
exact same thing.
Yeah, it was just forwarded to me because I was guessing
Mhm.
that he didn't get the resolution that he wanted, so
Yeah.
then he moved to another
Source,
Right.
source. And I just bumped it back
yeah.
to council
I
saying,
just wanted to make sure somebody responded to him. I did not respond to him, so.
I didn't either, so.
It's one of the causes that it wasn't talked about in the public meeting. that
Yeah.
We talked about it in finance, which is
Absolutely.
public, but I don't think we weren't able to stream it that day for whatever reason. So,
Okay, a step back, then. I think we need a vote on the SSI to move forward with that. We
Yep.
didn't do it so that council knows it's probably a 3-0 vote.
Yeah,
So I'd like to make the motion to move forward with going with the SSI.
I'll say, sorry, you can have it.
go ahead. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And that is at the $135,000,
Level on the few pennies a day plan.
taking off the modular 10,000 to be added back, to be discussed about adding in 2023. If we can get in writing, that would be at the same price. That would be fantastic.
Okay,
Very much like the fuel surcharge for local waste. Just have that in writing. And then there's still the outstanding question about
And
this-
then-
the cloud versus
Yes.
local.
yes, I, yeah.
Then we're gonna move those other things to the CPI.
Oh, the roadways
Yes,
CIP priority 2, we're
Two.
moving.
priority 2 is being moved
into the budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 17,000 was.
from
was gonna be put
17 for
back
the
into it.
dog,
Yes.
for the dog
Mhm.
park. And when we get to the end of this, I have something to share about the dog park.
Okay.
I just want to forget. It's good. A concerned citizen sent me some photograph, a photograph. Wanted to make sure we were aware of it.
All right, so SSI, we're 3-0. We have a baseline with respect to dispatcher versus none, but we need to bring that up to council tonight as well, just to make sure that we're aligned on the path that we're moving toward and the fact that the budget is predicated on that piece. But there is still some outstanding questions that the chief is moving toward. Value asset company we talked about. We have an executive session this evening. The only other, we're going to talk about staffing and planning and zoning. As we have built, and this would affect the general fund balance, I think we have built in a full-time position right now
For, yeah.
for a zoning administrator.
Yeah.
What do we think about changing the part-time to a full-time and just delineating responsibilities between that individual and the administrative side, code enforcement versus anything else?
That's fine with me. I sort of always thought that for the next 2 or 3 years, our zoning person would be full-time instead of part-time, and then we'd bring on part-time
Okay,
as we needed it. The reason that we put a full-time person in the budget and left the part-time person in the wage structure is so we had that position.
Yeah.
And I also was sort of under the impression that our current part-time zoning person was considering retirement. I'm not under that impression anymore. So I thought if he was considering retirement, we would leave him as the part-time and bring on the full-time while he's here so I could train them. But I still think that we need a full-time person.
okay,
Just so you all are aware, I have that full-time person in the budget for 22 at coming in half the year. Is that what
Like in
we,
June? or
yeah,
something?
or July, like that in July. Is that what we wanted or no?
And the part-time in
I
there
have
as
a,
well.
yeah, I have a part-time in there for all year.
so the part-time would go away. And we would just have, or we would change the part-time to a full-time. Essentially, instead of 1.5 FTEs, you just have one.
Is it appropriate to talk about the conversation if the part-time person didn't want the full-time job but wanted to maintain working?
I think that can happen within administration.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
gonna be the administration and then executive session, just because it's a personnel matter.
But I think as a matter of necessity, the way that I see it, and from a budget perspective relative to the responsibilities, that probably makes the most sense. You agree?
Well, yeah, if you're looking at it strictly on a budget issue, yes, it does make sense.
Excuse me for just a second.
It sounds like you're in alignment with that.
Yep.
So then however, we would need to break that out. With respect, I mean, that's gonna put how much more back into the budget?
Well, I'm still a little confused. So we're talking about our current part-timer staying part-time, right? Or no?
That
Oh,
position going to
TBD.
I'm not
full-time.
asking him if he'd like to be full-time.
I see. With benefits.
Correct.
Let's see here.
So you can, work through that. Are there any other questions about that approach, though? I think this is something we need to bring up to council as well, since you're talking about a staffing change.
I know.
So putting him at full-time, and then what are we doing with the new position, the new zoning administrator that I had as half a year? Taking it out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
What are we doing again?
Part-time goes to full-time,
Yeah,
and that full-time position that we had in there goes away.
okay. And then, but the full-time position, since I wondered why it was so low, is because you only had it for
Half
6
year.
months.
Correct.
Okay,
So
so
the
when
bu-
will we bring this person on? Not until July or what?
ASAP. I would think that full-time, I think the position would move to full-time as soon as it could be filled. I would
Could be
think,
filled.
either by the current
Mhm.
position holder or somebody else. But I would imagine at a 6-month lead time with the full-time, that most of that is probably going to be eaten up in benefits.
Mhm.
There's probably not going to be a ton moving back into the general fund.
No, it will
incremental.
not be. What do you think,
Yeah,
Chip?
that would be,
I agree. But, yeah, it's gonna be eaten by the benefit
Yeah,
for 6 months. It just depends on whether he wants to be full-time or not.
yeah, it's kind of a wash.
Because the benefits would be different if the current employee would want to stay on because you've got Medicare you're dealing with now, so.
Right.
Well, that's a whole different,
It depends on the individual that comes in.
and then
If
if
it-
an individual come in, could be on Medicare.
Correct.
And we can pay the.
Yeah.
Pay the Medicare side as opposed to paying the health insurance. Comes out better for us.
Okay.
Right, it does.
So really, it's just a staffing conversation, but it is a budget conversation,
Mhm.
but still
Yeah, it's much
responsibility.
less
comes
money.
with it.
Yeah,
I'll make a
Alright.
motion to move forward with that.
Okay. You wanna, yeah, and we'll share that tonight with
Yep.
the group.
Is there a second on that?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And you're good with that, Bailey? Within, okay.
Yes.
Now,
There's one more thing, unless you want to talk about the
no, go
dog park
ahead.
since we're on it.
I just was trying to figure out when we're gonna talk about his officer in the second half of,
Q4,
yeah.
it'll be probably Q1 to next year, once we see how revenues are actualizing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. The chief's fine with that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that is built into the budget, just so you know.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
what I was
good. The
just
Q4
trying to figure
officer?
out when it,
Well, the Q2 officer.
The Q2
is
officer, not
We
the
did
Q4,
Not a Q4 officer,
Right.
no,
Q4.
sorry.
because we said no to it. We have a new cruiser coming in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there
it was
was a-
budget- yeah, I think that was purchased earlier this year. No.
Physically, though.
Correct, yeah, physically coming hopefully sometime soon.
Because that's, we've got that financial ordinance on for tonight. The last thing that we have here that would be a budgetary impact is Leafy Dell and 37. Roundabout versus signalization.
What's the difference between the pricing? again?
So Jack and I talked about this in preparation of that question. Right now, we have LCAT's paying 1.4 million, give or take. We're gonna have about 260 plus right-of-way costs. It's really hard to determine what's gonna be the best because we don't have an even preliminary design yet.
Mhm.
So to answer that question, I don't think Jack and I came up with an answer because we're not real functionality and not having to deal with the signal. Roundabouts are the way to go. You know, we're gonna be able to take a little bit of the library, we're gonna take a little bit of the Leafy Dell apartments without major costs. We have to take one or both of those houses on the other side, there's where you're paying. If we go with the signal, the proportion of money we're getting from LCATs will be lowered. Percentage. So
The question, the 28.5 that we have in here right now for next year is engineering, right?
the engineering doesn't technically start until 2023. I mean, I think we're starting to save it for them.
So what do we need to do to be able to help answer this question analytically?
I don't think you can answer it until you start preliminary design like we did on 62 and Sportsman's Club. You know, it's gonna cost 35 grand probably to begin, because they're gonna have to figure out what the design. We have a concept from 5 years ago, maybe,
Mhm.
from CT. Things have changed, pricing and so what do you need? You need a preliminary design and some alternatives. And that costs money.
You said engineering, really, we don't need it until 2023.
That's what LCATS has a program to be funded.
And that's when we'd have to put up our share.
Yeah, a portion of it, yeah. Right now, you know, LCAT's portion's locked in, so whatever, 1 let's say 1.5. So that's all LCAT's, no matter if it's gonna go to right away or design, we got 1.5 million. We do have it broken up, but we can shift that. We pay for anything else over and above. Is what it comes down to.
So really, but engineering is on us.
No. 114,000 is slated for engineering from LCATS.
So this could, if we said if we wanted to do a, just for sake of argument, a cheap signalization that costs $1 million for that intersection, and we've got 1.5 set aside.
That 1.5 will go down.
It's a percentage.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
So we're not
Yeah,
making any, I don't want to say we're not making any money. We're going to spend less, but we're getting less.
correct. Yeah. I'm just thinking from a letting them know perspective, the sooner the better.
From a what?
From letting LCATs know, the sooner the better on what we want to do with that interchange. That way, if
I don't think we have the information to tell them that.
right. It doesn't sound like we can really get it any sooner unless we want to
Unless you want to pay for it.
pay for it.
No, if, we're paying 22,000 in 2024 anyway. I mean, it's not like we're gonna lose that engineering.
We
So,
still need to just wait.
no, what I'm saying is if you want to have that conversation today, we can get a consultant to start designing it. And instead of paying 22,800 in 2024, we would pay it in 2022. We're not.
Yeah.
And then we can go to LCATS and say, okay, we have these preliminary studies we paid with, because you're gonna have to do it anyway. So you're just moving your city, we're moving the city contribution up a couple of years. And I can confirm that with Matt, but if you wanted to start that conversation now,
If we're locked in with a higher amount, but we're not tied to it, then we might as well wait based on what variables change within the next 2 years that could influence the decision one way or the other.
yeah, so if you spend that 22 now and something happens, I don't know what it is, that could go down the drain. It could also stay the same and you're not out anything.
And there could be a financial change between now and then to where the roundabout, which seems to be probably one of the more preferred methods, could be funded and not have an issue. And if we give away the money, say we want to move to a signalization,
Mhm.
and we can't get it back.
Yeah, and the administration could go after, I mean, you can go after grants for the city's matching money too.
We just wait. Okay,
That's what I would do.
that makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I'm still okay with putting the 28.5 aside now or something aside now to make sure that we're taking out small bites of this moving forward.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's in the budget.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So we have those things. I'll bring that up tonight. Get the bonded stuff and everything like that figured out. All right, Chip, you said there was something you wanted to bring up at the dog park?
Yeah. Let me find this photograph. The stability of the gates. There's an issue with the stability of the gates. Her little dog was able to push the gate open and escape.
Is that the entry gates?
The entry gate, I guess. And there's also seems to be, from her photograph, there seems to be a large space between where the entry gate is and where it hooks onto the fence. So share that.
Oh, it just went away.
Yeah, I think I did notice the one gate, the spring wasn't bringing it clear back tight. Did you notice that the other day? So I
There seems to be a
thought,
space
He said he
there.
can come back to and
There's
put on
that.
more springs for us.
yeah, okay, so there's the gate. There's the post, and I think it's just not closed. Isn't that what we're talking about right there?
No.
Oh, no, that's the other end.
Mhm.
Yeah, there seems to be a space there and you,
Chicken wire.
well, he's gonna escape.
Well, we haven't paid Mr. Baldwin yet, and so we can bring these two items to his attention, that the
Okay.
gates are not closing tight, and we have dogs escaping through this.
We can go over there tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mentioned it to Bailey during the
Yeah,
opening
well,
after you.
Susan brought it up to you, I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, we can just get a hold of him and say, hey, we have these two situations that,
Yeah.
you know, we'll have to be covered.
No, other than that, people are thrilled with it. They're happy.
For now.
You said what's the feedback?
Another, well, no, that's not finance. Go ahead.
Well, are there any other finance questions, I guess, at this point? Any budget specific questions? I can't think of anything else that's outstanding that we haven't touched on. Because we've got, all right, so let me just quickly review what we have in here. We got OPWC for East Jersey Street, which we'll find out in January. Obviously contingencies with that CIP funds for the street ceiling and things like that, if Jersey Street doesn't come through. Or we bank that money for 2023. If we don't get it. We've got the Trade Western plow truck in there for the CIP. Leafydale Traffic Circle Engineering Payment 1, Duncan Plains Road Improvement, $50,000. $100,000 sewer lining is under operating for the sewer department, lift station panel upgrade, the lower loader for the sewer department, and the sludge building is being broken out this year, then next year, but portions of it to come from the bonded monies, as we talked about before. We're bringing up SSI with council tonight. Leafydale and Route 37 will give an update, but it's everybody's intention just to wait based on what variables might change, but we're still going to pull some money out for that. We'll bring up to council the decision to move forward with HCA as the asset valuation company. We will bring up the dispatch and 911 center conversation and the zoning staffing conversation tonight. We reclassed monies from the bonded to water and wastewater plant expansion that is unspent at this point. We've got the ARPA dollars in there currently for water, sewer, and general fund. We reduced the city manager's salary January through March by 80% and 20% from April through December. The adjustments in the benefits package. Took out that Community Arts Council and sending it to Parks and Rec for conversation. Took out the Business Alliance, sending it to Economic Development for conversation.
What was that last one?
The Business Alliance.
Whether we form a chamber of commerce
Oh,
or not.
yeah.
So we
We've
put
got
up
enough on our plate right now.
And seed money to go for that, but I think we could hold off on that
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
so we pulled the money out and so we're gonna send it to Economic
And
Development.
then, yeah, we'll add it back in and
Right.
get to that point.
We'll talk next year about the dual band benefits and salary structure that was discussed last meeting with respect to how things are paid and how people are compensated. There was some discussion that we had a little bit at length at the November 8th meeting. Which one?
November 8th,
November 8th
last
meeting?
week.
Yeah. We can
Okay.
catch you back up on that. We've verified that we'll get money back from the Port Authority, at least $200,000, and we have that plugged back in. This is how we talked about. Am I missing anything else here? Took a minute to get there, but I feel like that's everything. 65 new homes. 5% water and sewer increase, 5% increase the medical costs. We have the cost of living increase built in there across the board at what, 3% we said?
You said that insurance is a 5% increase?
Yes.
Take it.
Best I've heard.
I was
Other than
gonna
the
say that's better
10%
than
that was
usual.
last year.
Yeah, it's
Last
low.
year's 9,
And
wasn't it?
then,
Yeah, it was definitely higher. It's been
And,
high for the
Yeah.
past few years. It's never been this low.
We don't have many
Never been.
babies.
our money
No.
$1,000 each.
That's
Yes.
this meeting, we'll have that, yeah.
And that goes out.
This year, yeah,
Yeah.
December 3rd.
Paid in this year.
Let's see here. Increase street employee wages to fit in the wage scale. Street fund increase for thermoplasting. We can probably adjust a couple of those general fund buckets for zoning based off of not adding in a new position. I'm moving that part-time to full-time because we shouldn't need all the supply dollars that you put in there. Okay. So what we, did I hit on everything I think that we have built in for the budget for next year at the moment?
Yeah.
I think so.
Think so.
So
So,
what is outstanding then? Is,
Our staff.
that's right. Oh, look at you.
Love it.
We're pulling back on the asphalting the parking lot behind the street department building. We are not doing the 3-bay, 6-door
Correct.
street department building. That is on hold at the moment. Chief, there were a couple things that you had on your list. I know that we hadn't gotten to yet, one of which was the holding facility, right?
Yes.
Holding cell and then council chambers were the two things that I had listed that were outstanding. Is there anything else besides those two?
Well, no, so like also like when I look at the appropriations for 2020, looked like I was a little bit high in there, so I started going through some of my stuff today and it looks like I can return about $60,000 there.
For appropriations for next year?
Correct.
Fantastic.
And then there's the drug dog expenses.
Yeah,
On my end, I noticed that my sheet just says dog expenses.
that's, I asked the question on Dana.
So what I'd like to do though is I'd still like to see $1,000 there, and that's to build a kennel for dogs. So if we catch dogs on the road, then we have a place to store them here instead of actually holding the dog and waiting for the dog warden to meet with that patrol officer. The patrol officer could just come here, put the dog in the kennel, and then that officer from the county can report, just get the dog from the kennel.
How often do we have issues
About
like
3
that?
times a year.
3 times a year?
Yeah. And just based on man hours and the lack of patrol,
Yeah.
that you're getting out there, I mean, it might be worthwhile in the ROI.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a road summary sheet of the monies that we have and the monies we need to commit.
Yeah, the $1,000 for, that was the $1,000 for, it says dog.
Dog
Right.
expenses. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we never have any money there. I was like, well, now that we've got the dog park and stuff, maybe, look at doing a kennel in the back or something.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Especially at
Gotta do something with the
$1,000, yeah.
dog, don't want it wandering all over the place.
Or in the back of
Especially
the
when you don't know
cruiser.
the
Yes.
dog.
We catch it and we usually put it in the back of the car, but I think that would be enough money to actually purchase a snare.
Yeah,
So if we do have a vicious dog or something like that, we don't have those tools right now,
Yeah.
but we could use a snare. And then we can also build a small facility in the back there that we could just house dogs, and then it would get us like a bag of dog food and like a couple of bowls that you would put water and food in
Mhm.
and stuff to make that dog's time comfortable. And then a leash, just in case county is long and we had to walk the dog.
I think that's fair. And that's already built in, so I think it's fine just keeping it in
Yeah,
there.
I could do that.
Where you, the savings, I'm just curious, the $60,000.
On page 9, on 2247, which would, if your package is just the second one in, and then it's contractual services down at the very bottom, it says leads and other miscellaneous. Budget for this year was $20,000, 5. And then if you notice that 2022 to 5,000 budget is 81,000.
Mhm.
I don't need 60,000 of that. I just did
That was for the outsourcing of dispatch.
is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Is that money that we still want to keep in there? Just,
I think 60,000, the high end of your estimation.
yes. Okay, no, that makes sense. And that's where we want to keep that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can put it in a different line, but it should go under contractual services. But I can create a new account for it.
I think it would be, maybe a new line item probably would be best for it.
That's fine. That's not a problem.
It would be helpful to us because I looked at leads and I had no idea what that.
Yeah, I just shoved it in there for lack of any other better place to put it at the time. I'll create a new line.
Never mind. Then. I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's $60,000 just hanging out there that I don't really need.
So the holding cell and the council upgrades, I don't disagree that a holding cell is a priority consideration. As what council upgrades, I think we can entertain. I think there's been some feedback about council upgrades that some don't necessarily see the need to do that. But I'm a firm believer that if we have something on the table and we have a quote by it, then we can talk about whether or not it's needed. So
So quote, I don't have in front of
Yeah.
us. It's just mere speculation what the price would be. I think there's some conversations about increasing safety within council, especially in the light of this year where we have had some things come in where people have come off the street and caused a bit of ruckus. Plus, this first year I've been here where there's been a lot of meetings that have been disrupted because of people that are rowdy and stuff like that. And I think that as we grow bigger as a municipality, we want to keep council members safe. So to look at the physical security of how things are handled up, not only from that, but from all committees as well as mayor's court, because there's a lot of things that actually get housed in that area. So I just wanted to put it on the table to see if there was any consideration to look at, increasing the safety as far as like more raised areas, like a barricade that would, another level of protection, a barricade that would prohibit somebody from actually approaching the desk as they are now.
I think in the past, what we've done for larger types of projects is had some kind of itemized estimate, if that's something that can maybe be provisions for both of these. That way, we have an idea of everything that's included and the justification and what the total price might be. Because as we have these conversations, we'll be asked about it.
Well, that's true.
For
but
sure.
I think we do need more security. The world has changed and then
Sure.
people are getting a little more crazy than they used to be and get more upset about stuff than they used to be. So,
And a lot of times I'm there, but there's a lot of times that I'm not there. So like there's that consideration too, where sometimes you might not have that enforcement that's kind of like because those are the meetings that nobody's getting rowdy in. It's the one that you have that enforcement action there, except person just kind of quietly sitting there as an icon to say, hey, I'm here to keep peace and order. But when you pull that security blanket, people can get crazy.
Yeah. And then the holding cell, you had,
that's a very big project.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an engineering aspect to it. You're going to have to drill up part of the ground in order to put plumbing in. So it's a significant project.
Yeah.
It's nothing that we can basically kind of say, here's what the estimate cost would be. So it would have to be one of those things where it would start from engineering and we're going to have to most likely pay from that and then move our way forward on it.
is this something that we could run through Prime or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they'd be glad to come in
And then
and give you an estimate.
with that said too, we're also kind of pulling the dispatchers away. So now these officers are in these buildings by themselves.
Sure.
So if something were to happen to an officer and overtake, there's the potential that somebody could be in this building and be in this building overnight. And then when somebody else from this side comes
Yeah.
in, there's a possibility for them to encounter somebody they
Sure.
don't want to.
Yeah, I think those are fair considerations. I think what we need is maybe just a baseline to go from. And if it's an expenditure for Prime, just to kind of get an idea.
Yeah, what easily we could do if council decides to move forward with that is I'll just have Prime come in, meet with the chief and see his vision. And then they would look at the actual area and then determine design work from there.
And if we're carrying these areas up, I would most likely get some consideration on adding a couple of locker rooms in there if we're going to do the plumbing and what may not. And also consider an area like a gym area, like that not only the police department use, but any employee of the municipality as well as members from the public come in for unarmed self-defense or yoga or what may have.
Sure.
You know, it's another space for us.
Yeah, I think if we can have something itemized to kind of put it all out in front of us, understand, I think that for me would help kind of pull everything together and give us a baseline of what
It
we're
would
looking at.
help us move it forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just work with Jack and then deal with Prime, and then they can kind of piecemeal it out and I can present it accordingly.
And I would say similarly with the council upgrades, if there's anything that we can get together, I don't know if that's a prime conversation or if that's a general contractor coming in, just looking at what you're looking to do. I'm not sure.
It is interesting. I've contacted a couple of them and they're like, it's nothing that we really want to mess with. I know that Granville just recently upgraded there. So probably what I need to do is get in
Yeah,
contact
reach
with
out
somebody
to
out there and see who they used.
Okay,
I've got a vision of what I would like it to look like.
sure. Yeah, I think if we can put some numbers to it.
Yeah, just basically like, here, give me a paper napkin. I'm gonna make this happen, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Was there anything else then, chief? I think with those couple things that we talked
No,
about.
that's it
Okay.
on my end.
Well, I think we can lay out comfortably to council tonight as we introduce the first budget of where we stand this evening and a couple outstanding questions, and we can save that we can probably save these conversations for the introduction of that this evening instead of going through it in finance. Would you think, or would you rather go through it in finance at the beginning
No,
of the
because
meeting?
I think it'd be better during the introduction because sometimes people might fade out. They hear finance and they'll just sort
Yeah.
of fade out.
So as long as we have some time to talk about it when we introduce it tonight,
Yeah,
we'll bring up these items for everybody. to discuss.
hopefully, spend time on finance and the rest of these can sort of not be as
Yeah.
lengthy. Maybe.
All right. Dana, do you feel in a good spot?
I feel good. I'm adding in the SSI expenses into the budget now and
Tremendous.
take out.
So exhibit 1 has already changed.
It is, yes. So how would you like to move forward? Would you like to continue with what we already have?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I won't adjust
Just keep the
anything
exhibit the
until.
same.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it's a fluid document. I think everybody understands that.
Okay.
So then the only thing I'll put out there, I don't even know what time it is.
6.
6? Oh, fantastic. I'll take a nap before. The next meeting that we have scheduled for finance is December at this point, right?
I don't know if we had a meeting scheduled or not.
It is.
It
I
is?
mean, it was on part of the regular schedule.
Oh,
That would have been the 20.
it's not on my
First.
calendar. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, we
Let's
are.
do Christmas.
Yeah,
No, usually the budget's past the first,
and it got
and
canceled.
then everything else.
Yeah,
So the first-
but it is on there if
Yeah.
you.
So
Oh,
Just got it.
oh, okay.
with the outstanding questions that we have,
Yeah, I was wondering.
do we think we can have them answered by a week from today?
Definitely. What questions besides the SSI cloud one? What other questions were there?
I don't know.
Is that the goal, is to have the last meeting or the first meeting in December be the budget approval?
That's what I'm thinking. If we wanted to give it one more week for anything else to shake out, if we wanted to meet next Tuesday before planning and zoning, I think any other meeting relative to budget is going to be
Sure.
relatively quick. But do we want to do it?
Council meeting is the 7th. right?
Yeah, December 7th.
Meeting the 23rd next week, briefly.
Okay.
Do we want to say if necessary?
If
Yeah, I was gonna say.
necessary.
Okay.
So
Wait, are you talking about the 23rd of this month?
November.
Yeah,
November
November.
at 5?
Mhm.
Okay, because zoning's at 6:30.
yeah. So we're gonna cancel the 12/21 meeting. And we're going to add 11/23 at 5 PM. We'll put if needed, and we'll kind of take a look at the budget, and if we feel like there are a couple other things that we need to maybe smooth out before the
What?
7th.
I had the finance committee in December on the 14th with council, the second council meeting. Have the 21st. so.
I have the 21st.
Oh, you moved it up a week.
Yeah,
Because of-
that's right.
Because we moved council to the
But we
first
moved
2.
Council in case we
Mhm.
needed it.
Yeah,
So let's cancel the
so
December
cancel
meeting,
the 14th,
the December
the
meeting,
December 14th
whatever. It's
finance.
in the
Yeah,
council
If
meeting.
we can get everything done by December 7th,
Yeah.
We'll-
Maybe we
Yeah.
won't have council.
yes.
Heather, did I see planning and zoning?
What's the state of our server on this end? Is it
Planning and
That
zoning,
would be nice.
state next week,
Yeah.
and then when is
Good,
the
is it?
December meeting?
The
neat?
first.
It's on a Wednesday?
Honestly, I don't
It
know.
is.
I
We
think
make,
so. I
there's
think
only
it's gonna
one
Okay.
planning and
So I
zoning
think, like,
meeting in
We,
December.
Dana talked about the
And
cloud-based
usually the
storage.
First
I
Wednesday.
think that we can probably get
Make
into
sure
our
that they'll
own
leave the last 2
network
weeks.
automated storage with
Normally,
the mirrored
it's
backup.
The night after
and server for under
council,
5,000.
but
Yeah.
the first
Because
is.
It
it's the
just-
fifth, it's just the way things.
I mean,
I
we
was
can move
very
it.
confused. I thought I
No,
wrote it
I
down.
scheduled
Yeah.
design
So,
review board
um,
training.
And then
Right,
we
that's
have
right.
that network
Okay.
automated backup with a
There's
mirrored
something else
backup
on
line.
that
So
night. Yeah, the
it's
design review board training's at 5, so they might as well
Pretty darn
stay for
bulletproof.
6:30.
Okay,
And then they're done
Except if
for the
there's a
month.
fire,
Yeah,
unless-
right?
Yeah, then I'm losing it, you're
I
losing it.
haven't scheduled any
Okay.
other meetings.
so we're just gonna keep that up in the air and decide if we need it.
So-
To
I said bulletproof anyway.
Right, so.
11:23.
Not fireproof.
Yeah, maybe.
Cancel,
Is this a maybe or we are calling it?
We're calling it, but internally, it's if needed. Based off
on
of,
the 23rd is
Yeah.
as if needed.
Okay.
based off of how Dana
Pressure.
runs.
How I
it.
do.
So updates you get, I guess, about the server and what that breakout is gonna be and any changes to any of that stuff, or
Mhm.
as we get closer to the end of the month, any POs that we see are moving over or aren't gonna actualize at what we've allocated.
Yeah. December 1st is gonna be a little hard for us, Teresa, because the 23rd is planning and zoning, and then we have, you and I are both taking Wednesday, the 24th off, and we have the 25th and the 26th, but then we'll have to get an agenda out for
I know.
Wednesday, the 1st.
I'll be off homework. Oh, wow.
I don't even know if we'll have
I mean, unless we. can move both.
applications for that meeting. Let's just see how it
See
goes.
how it goes, yeah.
Anything else finance wise?
Mm-mm.
So we'll wrap this thing up. All right,
What?
I will go ahead and move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.